New coaches, new culture, new quarterback one. The Jets have gotten onto the field for 3 OTAs, and our Jets beat writer for the Post, Brian Costello, is on now to talk a Jets OTA recap, we'll call this. Guys, thanks for hopping on with this. Tired of talking draft, free agency, all that good stuff. First looks and first thoughts about the 2025 Jets, because give us everything that's noticeably new about this team you've seen so far at the start of OTAs.
Well, what's noticeable is there's a lot new, Brandon, right? Like you needed a roster yesterday. We were out there on Wednesday for the only OTA this week that's open to the media. They open one a week, so we were able to see it. But there were a lot of new players, a lot of old players switched numbers, a lot of new coaches. So you definitely needed a roster out there. I found myself looking a lot, saying, who's this, who's that, catching the ball, and obviously all eyes were on Justin Fields. But like I don't read too much into May practices. We don't know exactly how much has been installed. He had some good moments. He made some nice throws. He had one long, really, really long run, and then he had some moments where he looked shaky. There was a lot of protection breakdowns where it looked like he held the ball for a while. Would be sacks. They're not bringing anybody down in May, so there's no real sacks, but we would call them sacks. In that vein, Will McDonald looked pretty good. Aaron Glenn said he's gained 15 pounds. He looked explosive off the edge. He was making moves. So, it's early, Brandon. I think this is like judging, batting practice where we're basically looking at right now. But I thought there was some positives, and then at times they looked like they were practicing in May.
Let's go a little bit deeper into these sacks, because a problem with Justin Fields when he was in Chicago, he wasn't protected. So I know it's early, they're not in pads, but
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's early. Do you think that this is just the defense installing blitzes and things to be ahead of the
Yeah.
curve, ahead of the offensive line and their protection and schemes?
Yeah, I don't read anything into May practice, Brandon. I don't like other than usage, and we're not allowed to report on player usage from what we see, but just kind of we don't know what they've installed on defense, what they've installed on offense. We're not sure where exactly they are in terms of things, so it's hard to judge, and you don't know what they're working on. And the old cliche is the defense is ahead of the offense, early on. So it looked like that on Wednesday, but again, I'm not reading too much into it.
As a receiver, I hate that, because we want to get the ball. We want that ball out. We want the offense, especially the pass game, to be running as smooth as possible. Who cares where, because like in our eyes, who cares where we're at in terms of the install against defense? Ball in the air, 50-50 balls, we want to come down with it. And their wide receiver one, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Glenn has said that he wants to get this guy the ball as much as possible. G5 said he wants to be a Jet for life. So one, how's he looked in that day? And two, any news on a long-term extension so far?
Yeah, Garrett looked good. I mean, he made some nice plays. There was some connections with Fields. He talked about it afterwards, how they've kind of picked up where they left off, teammates at Ohio State. Garrett seems happy. In terms of the contract, I thought the positive was Garrett said all the right things on Wednesday. He said he wants to be a Jet for life. He's been at 100% of the spring activities. They're all voluntary so far. So that's a sign to me that he and his agent feel good about whatever discussions they've had with the Jets, and they feel optimistic that something's going to get done. If there was a divide right now, I think, you'd see Garrett kind of acting differently. Maybe he'd stay away. Maybe he would talk about it a little bit differently and be a little more demanding publicly. So to me, it was a positive that they must be having some productive discussions behind the scenes. I would keep an eye on this, Brandon, for like pre-training camp now. I think that's when these deals tend to get done, is right before training camp, and then if they don't get then toward the end of training camp, they get done. But I'm still, I still think, they probably get a deal done with both Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson before we get to the season.
If you get paid, you're going to have to produce, and production is something that he's done.
Yeah.
Now he has kind of entered that category of elite receiver in the NFL. He's going to need another receiver or playmaker opposite of him to take away some of that safety help. So two-part question: is anyone so far in I guess the one practice that the media was able to look at, had they looked like they could be that guy? And do you think the Jets kick the tires on a veteran receiver like a Keenan Allen or an Amari Cooper?
Yeah, I thought Josh Reynolds stood out in the practice watching him, Alan Lazard. Obviously we Jets fans know him. He's still on the team, surprisingly, but he's still there and he was catching the ball. Xavier Gibson had some good moments. I thought Aaron Smith caught a ball. So I think it's too early to kind of get him like handicap that horse race, but I do think they've got some options there to go through. I would be surprised, Brandon, if they added a veteran, just because look at what they've done this offseason. They've gotten younger and younger and younger. There's very few players on this roster right now over 30 or over. I think there might be three or four, but it's one of them's a long snapper. It's not they've made an effort to get younger here, so I don't think they're going to go out and sign a veteran wide receiver. To me, there's other ways to create options too, opposite Garrett, whether that's Breece Hall out of the backfield, whether that's Mason Taylor at tight end and Jeremy Ruckert. Justin Fields running the ball is kind of a different explosive option. So I think they can get creative, but they have a lot of guys in that receiver room, and we'll see how it shakes out during training camp.
On the defensive side of the ball, is there anything noticeably different about Aaron Glenn's defense compared to a Robert Salah's and a Jeff Ulbricht's D?
Not so far. I need to see more before I say that. I mean, Salah and Albrecht, they were kind of they just kind of line up and go. I think Steve Wilkes' system and Aaron Glenn's system will have maybe a few more blitzes and things like that into it, but it's hard to tell that off of day one. We'll see how when we get to training camp and then preseason games, whatever they show in preseason games. But if they do joint practices, that's when you kind of tend to see more. So we'll see in the summer what it looks like.
All right, guys. I hope they give you guys a little bit more access there. But you guys can check Brian Costello out on the Gangs All Here podcast, the official Jets podcast for the New York Post. Guys, thanks for taking time out your day, man.
Thanks, Brandon.